What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and tonight we're going to be talking about the next content drop and preload for Black Ops 6 in Warzone. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, just wanted to remind you that it's around that time of the year for the Call of Duty cycle when devs are on holiday break and things are going to be a bit quiet. Now, things are likely going to be pretty dormant until maybe a couple of days after Christmas, if not a little bit longer until after the new year when devs presumably get back from holiday break during the first week of January. But regardless, I have lots of content lined up for you guys in the case you just want to sit back and listen to some of the latest updates in regards to Call of Duty. But any support here on the channel and over on Detonated is, of course, appreciated. As I always say, hopefully you guys have a very safe and happy holiday if you guys are celebrating. Now, tonight's video is sponsored by Gamer Saloon. If you're looking to make some holiday cash just by playing Call of Duty, then you can check out Gamer Saloon. You can enter weekly $1 tournaments to play modes like Gunfight, Search and Destroy, or Warzone to win various amounts of cash. Gamer Saloon has been established since 2006 and has been a pioneer of online tournaments for real money. They've awarded over $100 million in prizes. Every new player that makes a deposit on Gamer Saloon will also receive one risk-free match. If you lose your match, then you'll get a full refund. Play COD, win cash. Check out Gamer Saloon with the special link down below in this video's description or the pinned comment, and thank you to Gamer Saloon for sponsoring tonight's video. But as far as the preload does go, just a couple of days ago on the 19th of December, PlayStation Size over on Twitter did report on update 1.65 for Black Ops 6 and Warzone, and he also mentioned a new download pack for Warzone specifically. Now, you guys are likely aware that just a few days ago as well, we ended up getting the end of Merry Mayhem and Gobblegum Mania with the introduction of Archie's Festival Frenzy and Urzikstan Sleigh Ride Resurgence. Some folks out there did assume that maybe update 1.65 had to do with the content that we just got a few days ago, but no, it looks like it's a separate content drop that I want to assume is probably going to be installed before the end of 2024. This could be the final major title update before the end of the year that does come with a bunch of changes and fixes that I'll be outlining towards the end of this video, but I do think one last significant update was planned before devs went on holiday break, and there's obviously still some folks at the office that are there in the case of an emergency if I had to take a guess. Obviously, you guys saw the error that did occur yesterday where some dev testing playlists did go live in Black Ops 6. I'll leave my emergency video on that link down below in this video's description. Now, the update is said to be around 5 gigs in size, which tells me that it's going to be a pretty important update and does probably reflect update 1.75, which has been rumored for several weeks now. We know Cold War Season 1 went through something a bit similar where there was the beginning of the season, the mid-season with Reloaded, then another update that was fairly large before the end of Season 1, with that making 3 big updates total for the first season. It looks like Black Ops 6 is going to be going through something similar as we enter 2025. Now, it's also possible that this update is something to do with the big Squid Games collaboration, which currently doesn't have a release date, but is said to be a content drop that's going to be releasing in January. I do want to predict that 5 gigabytes probably includes the Squid Game bundle, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and a lot of the content that is tied to that event. But to remind you, January 3rd is the official end of all Christmas festivities in Black Ops 6, including the Archie's Festival Frenzy Challenge event. Now, you guys know you're going to be rewarded with every item as a part of the event, even if you don't play the game from now until the 3rd. We'll talk more about that in a separate video that I have planned, but it's totally possible January 3rd is the start of something else, and this update 1.65 will have the content that is reportedly going to drop on January the 3rd. There's obviously a fairly significant gap from the 3rd until the very final week of January when Season 2 does begin, so there could be plenty of other surprises within this title update that we may end up seeing as a part of some Season 1 content. Now, either way, January 3rd still seems a bit early for devs to be back from holiday break, so I want to guess the following Monday, which is going to be the 6th, is probably when things are going to go back full force, where you start seeing a lot more marketing from Call of Duty again and a lot more activity from all the dev teams involved. But something I'm really liking about Black Ops 6 is the fact that with a lot of the major and recent title updates, the start of Season 1, the beginning of Season 1 Reloaded, nothing wild has really leaked out for the future of this game. Maybe a collaboration here and there or a couple of weapons, but nothing major has really leaked, which is a nice breath of fresh air compared to all the leaks they constantly poured out during Modern Warfare 2 and 3, even games before that. So it's also a possibility that this title update probably has a good amount of content that is completed or in development for Season 2, which again begins at the very end of January. If it doesn't, then I have to give props where they're due to the devs out there who've somehow figured out some better security measures for upcoming DLC, because like I said, the last couple of years of Call of Duty have been wild wild whenever a new title update would release. The floodgates would open up with lots of information about several pieces of content that are months away from actually releasing. Now, something I want to point out is that with the Archie's Festival Frenzy event, we didn't see the release of the Cleaver melee weapon. And I actually mentioned this in one of my recent videos, but in case you didn't see it, I do want to remind you that the blog post did mention that there would be a weapon unlocked for 50 Jolly Archies. And what do you know, that was changed to a blueprint once the event actually began. It was a blueprint for a pistol, as you guys know. So that's why we all misinterpreted the supposed release date of the Cleaver melee weapon. It's clearly tied to an update that isn't going to be dropping until, I guess, next year, or with whatever update 1.65 is. So it's totally possible the Cleaver is part of, let's say, the Squid Games collaboration as a reward. Maybe it's part of some other bundle that's coming out in early 2025, or it's a part of a different content drop entirely that, again, has not been marketed or announced yet. Either way, we know the Cleaver is the final DLC weapon that was promised for Season 1. If you guys are wondering if any other weapons could potentially be within this title update that could drop before Season 2, I would doubt it, but hey, never say never, because that could always be a possibility. Now, something I went over in a previous bundle-focused video is the fact that bundles have been handled a little bit differently with Season 1. Something has changed with the way that they're being added into the game. Again, if you don't care about bundles, I totally respect that, but you guys know I cover everything here on the channel, and you still might find this topic interesting, so buckle up for a second. The way bundles have been dropped has been a bit odd to see, because usually a title update will release, whether it's the start of a season or the mid-season, and a big batch of bundles will have been added into the game's files, in which you would see data miners out there force loading them into their game early to post showcases over on YouTube and Twitter. But with Black Ops 6, things have been a bit odd, where a lot of bundles aren't able to be force loaded into a game early, which to me is a good thing. It saves the element of surprise for when the packs actually release. And it looks like Treyarch has been slowly rolling out little batches of bundles here and there, and a good way to determine when a bundle is likely releasing, or at least a good way to predict the bundle schedule, is looking at which operator skins can be previewed early in the selection menu. That just tells you that a bundle that features that operator skin you can see is probably just around the corner, as we just saw the other day with the Dank Days skin, which finally was able to be previewed in the operator menu. We know the Unicorn skin's coming soon, and we also know about the Jack Frost or Night King looking operator, which is probably a part of a pack that is going to drop before the new year. But absolutely nothing has leaked when it comes to the Squid Game collaboration, whether it's the bundle, whether it's the actual in-game content that's been rumored. So that also tells me that this preload is going to have all that content. My fingers are crossed, though, that whenever this preload becomes available, nobody can break through and force install it to the point where they start spoiling all the content that's part of the update before the actual DLC ends up releasing. But just about a day ago, those dev testing playlists did go live a little bit early for Black Ops 6 multiplayer and zombies. Nothing substantial was really revealed from the zombie playlists that were there, but we noticed that Citadelle Day More directed mode was one of those playlists, and upon clicking on the playlist, you're able to get a little preview of what the rewards are going to be for beating the quest in that specific mode. Kevin Drew recently confirmed that directed mode for Citadelle is going to be releasing in early 2025, which could mean either prior to Season 2 or with Season 2, since January technically is still early 2025, right? But there's a weapon charm Doppelgas reward, 5,000 XP, and a classified calling card that probably looks something like this, as you will see on screen for the directed mode rewards for Terminus and Liberty Falls. But they confirm here that the charm reward will also be awarded for people that have completed the standard mode's Easter egg for Citadelle Day More. So good to remind you guys again that not all rewards for beating a quest are given out in directed mode, and there's also exclusive rewards for beating a quest in directed mode. But just to clarify again, the update is called 1.65, which should be popping up at some point relatively soon for all platforms. Usually PlayStation Size doesn't report on a new title update unless it's a couple of days away from being able to be downloaded, but the community is referring to this content as what could be the rumored 1.75 update, which just represents the fact that this is a substantial update after the mid-season, which you typically don't see for any new or recent Call of Duty titles. Now, the question definitely remains if anything is actually going to be happening on January 23rd, like leaker Semtex Leaks has been claiming over on Twitter. If anything, that's just going to be the week where we end up seeing marketing for Season 2. I doubt anything important is actually going to drop for Season 1 during that time frame. If anything, new DLC for Season 1 is going to be dropping during during the first or second week of January at the very latest. But if you're curious on some potential patch notes that could be addressed with this upcoming preload, we know about the following global known issues. Some players are being returned to the lobby when claiming Archie's Festival Frenzy rewards. High mantling speed is slower than intended. That's actually a fix that's already scheduled. They also mentioned Dark Ops calling cards are being displayed as classified in the showcase menu to other players who haven't opened them yet. So that's being investigated. And they also mentioned some players have a non-melee weapon added to the dedicated melee slot in new custom classes. But then they also mentioned in rare instances, the next bullet fired from a weapon after using the Archangel launcher can be an Archangel rocket. Seen plenty of clips of that online. The Detonated also reposted. It's something that I just didn't expect to see. But hey, during the preseason or season 1 window, you typically see some of the craziest bugs in a new Call of Duty title. They also mentioned that they're investigating medal and level up noties that are no longer displaying in hardcore, and players will notice that some killer calling card challenges do not show their recorded progress in the menus. They also mentioned that players may sometimes notice the progression levels are incorrect in some other menus, and players may sometimes notice that progression levels are incorrect through the in-game scoreboards. For zombies, they know that some calling card challenges aren't being recorded correctly, specifically prestige ones. Vermin can sometimes hit twice with one attack. Players are unable to parry on the Amalgam's grab with the sword in Citadelle, and they also mentioned saving and quitting before speaking to Craft can prevent main quest progression after loading the save. They also mentioned that main quest progress may not be saved when picking up the Mystic Orb. I've experienced that a number of times already on solo after saving and quitting in DLC 1. They also mentioned that wisps in the light challenge for the Mystic Orb in Citadelle can freeze visually but still count towards completion. They also mentioned an issue with the light ritual mirrors and special round effects being disabled, as well as activating the timeout gobblegum during the final encounter in Citadelle is respawning eliminated players in the starting area and downing them, which is really strange. They also mentioned elemental sword damage, which everybody is waiting for a buff on. Yes, elemental swords are going to get better, hopefully before the end of the year throughout Citadelle Day more, but there was specifically a damage decrease when using the Void Sheath augment for Ether Shroud, which is odd. They also mentioned people being unable to pick up the Lightning Rod in Citadelle. Melee weapons are unable to open one of the locks on the Pack-a-Punch container, and then Craft can sometimes speak to players before they interact with him in Citadelle, followed by in Terminus, players respawn by progressing around with the timeout gobblegum during the final encounter are unable to see the main quest boss's health bar. They also mentioned that players lose all in-magazine ammo for some weapons when applying armor plates, and they're currently investigating an issue with campaign and some of the mission progress resetting, followed by an issue with settings also being reset. So you guys probably can see that on the Trello board, there's quite a few fixes that are already scheduled that are likely tied to update 1.65, which has already been found in the database, whereas the issues that are being investigated are probably not going to be addressed until early 2025. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. There's really not much new over on the Warzone Trello board that I went over in a video a couple of days ago, but that's everything we know that should be addressed in the upcoming title update. That's also everything we know about the in-game content that could be tied to this title update. And also let me know how you're feeling about the state of the game before we end off 2024. I really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.